Welcome to Coach Fireside Chat, the podcast where we strip away the glamour and get straight to the heart of coaching. No scripts, no filters, just honest, raw conversations with coaches who are out there making a real impact. I'm Karl Sandland, your host and growth strategist for coaches. I work with coaches to help them build, scale, and create lasting impact in the industry. And in this podcast, I sit down with experienced coaches to deep dive into their journey, their struggles, their breakthroughs, and their unfiltered take on what it really means to be a coach. Whether you're an aspiring coach looking to grow your practice, or you're searching for the right coach to support your personal or professional transformation, this podcast is for you. No fluff, no sales pitches, just real talk about the coaching world from those who are doing the work and changing lives. So grab a seat by the fire and let's get into it. Welcome back to Coach Fireside Chat, the raw, real talk podcast where we get under the skin of what coaching is really about. I'm your host, Karl Sandland, tech simplifier, systems strategist, and lover of all things that actually bloody work. And today's guest is bringing the kind of no-fluff wisdom that every business owner needs to hear, especially if you hate sales but still need clients. I'm joined by Johanne Stimson, also known as the Salesologist. With over 40 years in the sales game, Jo is a straight-talking mentor and coach who helps service-based business owners finally get to grips with selling clearly, confidently, and sustainably. She's the founder of Sales Only, a space built specifically for people who are pretty damn good at what they do, but just can't seem to get their sales system working on repeat. In this episode today, we're going to be diving into why sales feels messy even when you're getting clients, the sneaky reason you keep avoiding sales tasks, and why just be consistent is not the advice you need to hear right now. So let's cut through the crap and let's get real with what it actually takes to make sales feel doable and keep it going for the long haul. Let's get into it. Welcome, Jo.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And it's something that's very close to my heart. As I'm sure you can imagine, pretty much everybody struggles with sales at some point, right?
Yeah, they do. It's particularly if you take the solopreneur kind of audience, the word just sends people into a tailspin, let alone all the other things that come with it.
When I first started off, it sent visions of, I don't want to be a secondhand car salesman. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be slimy, over-promising. Okay, it's not always like that. There is a system, there's a formula for this. And, it's great that we can talk about some of those things today. I guess one of the first things that would be really good to talk about and get your opinion and expertise on is the real reasons that sales feels inconsistent, even when you're landing clients. Because I guess the key thing is if you've managed to land clients, then you must be doing something right, but then it's not necessarily a repeatable formula.
A lot of this is going on, not knowing where people are landing, not reviewing what's actually happened, using the past as the best indicator for the future. That's stop, start, feast and famine, no process, no rhythm, no consistency. And service-based business owners, they'll flip between being in the delivery and generating leads and marketing. And the way I talk about that is those two things are like playing the drums. And the minute you decide to open a business to the minute you close the doors on that business, both things have to happen at the same time, all the time. Not, I'm busy, I'll stop doing that. And then, I haven't got any clients, I better go and do a load of that. The word I use is sales chaos. It's the only way I can explain it.
It's a valid point. I mean, this is one of the reasons why as companies grow and get a little bit bigger in scale, they have marketing departments, they have sales departments, because it's a continual activity, isn't it? But I get it. As a solopreneur, it's difficult. You've got to keep taking that cap off, putting a different one on. But this is why a lot of people will outsource or get some advice on what do I need to be doing consistently, even if it's only for an hour or a couple of hours a day, in order to keep the wheels turning on that whilst I'm doing the other tasks, right?
Yeah, Exactly. Going back to your point, I don't want to be a car salesman. I hear a lot of, I hate sales. I don't want to be a salesperson. And I'm like, if that's the case, please go and work for somebody else. Because the only job you have, your business is here, you're here, you are paid by your business to be the sales director and the brand awareness officer. It's the only job you have. So I ask this question a lot. What would your business say to you if it called you into a performance review today? Because it is employing you to do the job. Are you getting the sack or are you getting a bonus? And most people go, oh, I don't even want to go into that meeting. And I'm like, then we've got work to do. It's great. We know where we're starting from. But you have to accept and take the badge with your name on that you are the salesperson for your business until you can afford to outsource it, because it's not a personality trait, it's a skill. You can learn it. So, and that's what people don't get. Confidence only comes from taking action. You don't sit waiting for a moment in time when all of a sudden you're like, oh, I feel really confident doing that thing now. It comes when you fail, when you practice and you get up, like riding a bike, like raising kids, like having a puppy, like all of the things that we've all had to do once. It's the same thing. So you have to, again, my opinion, you have to be willing to fail, you have to be brave, and you have to keep trying, because otherwise, just be consistent is like saying to someone with a broken leg, oh, well, just walk on it, it'll heal itself. Well, no, no, just be consistent in still doing this, and the chaos is now chaotic, inconsistent. you know,
Yeah.
Consistency. It's like, why would you do that? Like, hang on a minute. Even if it's one thing, decide on what the one thing is going to be and do it and review it and tweak it. Is it working? Be radically honest with yourself to be like, I don't know how to do that. That's not working. I don't want to do videos every day, or I don't want to build my business on social media all the time, but make some decisions, because you're the leader of your business, even though it's just you. You have to take responsibility, because this entity of your business, I illustrate it with my graphics as a plant. And if people can't keep plants alive, then swap it out for something that they can,
Don't have
but
if you can't keep plants alive, don't have children, right?
yeah,
Or pets.
exactly. Dogs or pets or goldfish or anything else, but whatever you swap this for, because your job is to keep this alive, to make it visible, give it attention, feed it with money, and it will in return give you what you want back from it. But yeah, it's all give in the beginning. You've got to give this business the best chance of survival. And if you're not selling in your business, then I'd ask you, who is then? Because somebody's got to be selling.
Yeah, and just building a funnel, as a lot of people will say, oh, you
Yeah,
see these out there, don't you? I mean, I'm from a
yeah,
tech background myself, but I mean,
mm,
I'm a little bit more clued up to know that you can't just build a site and it will do the sale for you. It will just
yeah,
do a conversion for you, right? You've got to have conversations. You've got to
yeah,
build the trust and what
yeah,
have you. Just going
yeah,
back to a point that you made earlier about, that consistently, I guess, doing the wrong thing is not progress, right? I
mm,
have those discussions time and time again with people when I'm putting systems in place, because
mm,
sometimes they think, well, technology will solve a problem for me. It's like, no, it won't. Technology will automate and make a process that's tuned quicker and better and more efficient. If you've got a crappy process and you try and put technology around it, it just puts a magnifying glass on your crappy process. It's not going to solve it. And I guess it's similar with all processes, but certainly in sales, right? If you're doing the wrong thing or you're not getting that feedback, however critical or scary it might be, you're not going to do better. I thought I was originally not too bad at sales. I was awful. I was dreadful. I was working with a particular coach who would get me to the record all of the sales calls, listen back to the sales calls, make me listen back to the sales calls and critique them. And I got to the stage where I couldn't listen to some of them. I was cringing myself listening to my own calls, not because I'm not comfortable hearing my own voice, but thinking, oh God, well, that was crap and that was terrible. God, you transitioned too quick there. And in the end, the coach just turned around and said, well, if it's comfortable for you to listen back and you know what you're trying to get across and trying to do and say, imagine what it's like for the other person who's on the other end.
yeah.
And at that point, I thought, yeah, I really need some help and some guidance on transitioning better, certainly the objection handling, because it's a tricky thing. Sales is a really tricky thing.
Yeah, it's people and they're complicated and, it's unpredictable. And people run to the end when they think about sales. It's pushy, it's awkward, it's icky, whatever word they want to use. And they run to the end of the process thinking that they're going to be on suddenly this cold call with this person they've never met, that suddenly they're going to have to justify their prices, and this person's going to be really awkward and really, objection central. And that never happens because the process is the process. You've told how much the price is here. You've said what you're doing. You're showing up. You're being real. People are getting to know, like, and trust you. So by the time people get on this screen, it's well, are you the right person for me? I just want to ask you some questions, and if I'm going to be spending an hour with you for 6 months, oh, are you going to be my person or not? Because the price is right and what you're offering sounds good, but now it's a chemistry, personality fit. But they always run to the end. And I'm like, but that doesn't happen in real life. Go to the start of the process.
It is a good point. And again, a lot of people will have decided. I mean, me personally, I absolutely decide what I want and from whom I want it before I have a discussion with them. I've done the research, I've looked at the reviews, I've looked at their site, I've done my work. I don't just rock up and it's like, oh, tell me all about this and I'll work out whether it's right for me. I've done my homework. And you're right. And the only thing then really that I'm trying to suss out is, do I genuinely trust them? Is this a likable person? Is this a business that I could actually work with? Or does it feel a little bit unusual, or is there something not right? Which you're only going to get through a conversation. So for me, that's just that last tick in the box of about 20 ticks that I've already ticked before I've even spoken to them.
And and the job of the content and the sales page and the showing up does all of that work for you. But people don't understand that that is part of the sales process. All of this bit in the middle is all the process happening in real time. This bit at the end is just the end bit.
It's just the closing, right?
Yes or no.
It's an interesting point because I've spoken to and worked with a lot of people in the past who create this real border between marketing and sales. And even sales, they will chop sales up to lead generation type sales, almost like conversion sales or getting them ready to buy, and then the closure, right? But ultimately, that might work for a corporate where you've got BDMs and lead generators and then closers, demoers, and then the head sales guy that comes out to close this £100,000 deal. But for solopreneurs, like you say, it's a fluid journey. You've got to get used to that whole fluid journey. So bearing that in mind, and as you said there, a lot of the time it's not necessarily a shit ton of objection handling and this is going to be the worst call in your life. But there's still those emotional blocks, isn't there? There's still things that I guess we're told to think, which are simply just not true. So what's the real world of a decent sale like for a solopreneur?
I teach people to get emotionally detached from the outcome as quickly as possible, because sales is emotionally charged, particularly if it's your business and you are the product as a service based business, and you doubt, rejection, all of these strong emotions will be feeding in. Am I charging enough? Am I showing up enough? Am I doing this? Comparisonitis, all of the stuff, and the sooner they can get emotionally detached to the outcome, then the next point is, if I said to you, you needed 25 no's to hit your goal, how quickly would you do the work to find 25 people that wanted your thing to say no? You'd be like,
It'd be
okay,
motivating.
there
You'd
I
want to get
go.
it.
Where's the
Yeah.
no's? That's sales. You
Yeah.
need the no's to get to the yeses. Not everybody needs thousands of clients. They only need a handful. So by not showing up, and again, sales is service, you're doing a disservice to your potential client by not telling them that you can help them with that little bit of their problem. And if what you do is really good content and show up, but your follow up process is non existent, then you've made this person now problem aware and solution focused. So they're going to go and find the next person who says they do the thing that you have already told them that you do, but you didn't follow them up because you didn't want to be annoying.
So you've basically moved them further closer towards closure, but
Yeah.
just paved the way for somebody else who's ready to do that close if you're not, right?
Exactly. Who's ready to do the work, who's prepared to step over the what if they say no? Well, they say no. Okay, scratch it off the list. 24 to go. Where else can I find the other people? And the difference that that makes is massive, because the feedback I get from people that work with me is that I help them be brave. That's the word that comes up all the time. But that's because I'm standing next to them in their business saying, what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is they don't come back to you or they say no. It has got nothing to do with you. It's not a load of mirrors going up reflecting back how crap you are in your business and how your service isn't any good. Put the mirrors down, look at the process, tweak it, review it, do everything in 90-day blocks and go again. And the difference of that is massive, because then they're like, okay, I'm just going to go and talk about this thing somewhere. What's the worst that can happen? No, nobody comments, nobody steps forward. But someone might go, oh, that sounds interesting, or I like that, but could it be that?
Just going back to the emotional connection thing, this is something that, again, I found quite early on and coached a lot of other coaches through. And I think it's actually harder for somebody who's selling their time, whether that's a consultant or a coach or a mentor, to disassociate themselves with the outcome. I believe that's the case because at the end of the day, if they're saying, well, no, it's not right for me, in effect, they're saying, well, no, you're not right for me. Whereas when you're selling a product, it's a little bit different because it's the product's not right for me, but that doesn't mean that you're not. And I think a lot of the time it's really hard for a coach to make that differentiation between they don't like me versus what I'm offering, the results, the outcomes of my coaching program's not right for them. So I used to work with them to actually make sure that they did disassociate, and it's this coaching program that is its
Yeah,
own entity. That's
yeah,
the product.
yeah,
You're not selling time. It's not you
yeah,
that you're selling to them. You're selling the
yeah,
outcomes.
yeah.
And so how have you found it with coaches, consultants? Is it harder than people? Well, for example, I now have a physical product, a technological based product, and I'll help and coach and mentor in the use of that. But I have certainly found it significantly easier to transition to something I can touch and feel, right, as a product. How have you
Yeah.
found it?
I was part owner, MD, and sales director of a manufacturing business for 20 years. So it was physical products. It was, people buying things. But I guess it's my unique way of saying it. I never sold the product. The business would have ran in exactly the same way if it had been pencils or tins of shampoo. It was electric underfloor heating, you know, because I sold the people every day. I didn't sell the product. I sold the support and the service that we would make it so easy for them. And by making that personal attachment to me and the other people, that I could, in a way, make them feel guilty for changing their mind to buy from somebody else because it was now a personal relationship. I'm a personality driven business builder. I'm a people centric kind of way. So from the product point of view, it doesn't really matter what it is. But in a service based business, you are also the product. You have to be one of the attractors that your business needs to pull people in. And it is difficult because people are then like, well, I'm being selfish. All of that kind of emotion, the guilt thing comes up about, I want to work with everybody. I don't want to let people down. And if you've worked for somebody else and then come into your own business, that transition is massive. It's a complete identity shift. It's more than just mindset. It is no longer doing this little part of a bigger machine. like you said before, you are now the machine, and you have to find a way to keep it moving, which is why I really focus on that emotional detachment part first, because I've seen so many people get too much in their own heads. That means they just freeze, because now they don't know what is right and what is wrong. And they're following so much generic advice, they're downloading all the freebies, they're attending all the challenges, they've got so many voices around them, and they're trying to copycat somebody else's business. And
Mhm.
you can't do that. You can take inspiration, you can look at what they're doing, but you have to work it out for you. It has to be your way. It has to be real. It has to be authentic. Because again, that balance between, you need to love your business and you need to love what you offer, because that'll be the thing that'll make you go out and talk about it. But you
Mhm.
also then can't be whacking all the mirrors up when people say no, to then go and hide and disappear. So I guess, I've got two parts of my business. Sales only is my membership, and that's exactly what I do in that membership. I am their sales mentor, their sales director in their business. I'm there to give advice, but I'm also there to call out when it's, what are you doing? You know, be that support, arm wrapped round, walk in the path with them, but also to be like, you've got too many mirrors now. Come on, put them down. What are
Mhm.
you actually going to do? So we stop the fight and flight, rejection, sensitive, and all of that as quickly as we can, because I build the relationship with them and understand their business, and they can fast track it by being like in my world because of the experience that I've got.
It must be challenging with certain people. Just so that I'm clear and the listeners are clear, do you work with people who are already generating clients and it's about consistency, or do you also work with some people who haven't yet got clients, haven't even potentially got their proposition right, got the target
Can be both.
audience right? A bit
Yeah, it
both.
can be both. So what I have basically is, on a Monday I have sales school, which is for people at the earlier start. So a bit like we talked about earlier, go and build an audience, go and build a lead magnet, and everyone goes, yeah, 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 and then like sits on their own, like, what does that mean? I break each of those things down into minute detail: the how, what, why you should consider it, and do you feel it's the right thing for you to do at what stage, so that they can make really conscious decisions in their business, rather than go and just say, I'm going to copy that person, because they're not that person. They haven't got their experience. They don't know what they're doing. Through to my consultancy side, I'm a fractional sales director, fractional sales lead. So for 6 or 7 figure business online owners or offline owners, I go in and I do that role, and I run the sales team, and I make sure that that expensive resource is doing what it needs to do. Because again, I've sat in all the seats around the table. I've been the person in the car, I've been the founder, I've been the MD, I've been the sales director, and know what all of that feels like. So I can go in and be the sales fixer, to be like, that's the problem in your business. You're leaking money out of your follow up system, for want of a better way. Let me just sort that out. Let's put some structure, process, and reporting in place and fix the leak and get the money back in the business. So it's a good mixture, both sides of all of my skill set. I built a business on what I needed in both sides. I needed the membership, and I needed my fractional sales lead. I needed that person for 20 years, and I didn't know there was someone out there.
So the importance of not going at it alone just keeps ringing
Mm,
out
yeah,
in my head. I mean, again, it sort of
yeah,
goes back to the whole doing the wrong thing consistently is not necessarily moving forward, right?
yeah,
And there will be, just to go back to your earlier point, there are so many free resources out there of do this, do that, try this, try that. You shouldn't be doing this, avoid doing these things. And to go back to your key point, really, which I 100% agree with most things in your business, your business is unique. It's a unique fingerprint on this earth, right?
mm,
Yes, you can get advice. There are certain commonalities and trends that will potentially work or potentially not work, but your business has you in it and you are unique. Your product is probably pretty unique. You're attracting clients in a specific way that will have your personality attached to it. It's therefore going to be unique. So, yeah, it's great to get advice, but to actually have someone who can work with you or mentor you and get to know all of those unique challenges and then give you the advice that, again, is unique to how it fits with you, your personality, your product.
Yeah.
That is absolute gold dust. And yet there are many, many people that avoid going down that route because they think they can get a free lead magnet
Yeah.
that teaches them how to sell and how
Yeah.
to do things. But it's just not the way there, right?
It's not, but working with someone like me, because I am direct, I'm very empathetic and very warm and friendly in that way, but I don't take any rubbish. It's very confronting because you will be put to work.
Mm.
Because what's the point of wasting either of our time? I haven't got a WI membership. It's not come along for 2 hours a week and, we'll just have a good chat about what everybody's done. It's what's the next logical step you need to take in regard to sales in your business? Do you understand what it is? Do you know how to do it? And what's going to get in the way of you doing it? Because the whole point of it is every week you keep your business steady or nudge it forward, but never back. Not when you're in my world, it's never backwards. It's always working towards a thing because most people set up a business to be the person that they were to help the people behind them. So
Ooh,
coaches,
that's a,
therapists,
yeah.
psychologists, those kind of things. They've had their own thing and now they're like, I'm going to help the next people. Exactly how my business is operated. It is for me of the past. And people diminish the power in that. And, oh, well, it's just the way that I do it. And I'm like, yes, it's just the way that you do it because you know it. But tell other people that's how you do it or why you do it or how you got to that point because the story is the key. Tell me why you got to this point. What was it about you that made that decision to change your life that you're now helping other people take the step and build the bridge alongside you? And people really discount all of this. Yeah, but it's just me. It's just me, like little old me. And it's like, no, you are so powerful in your business. You're just not positioning yourself in the right way. And because you don't believe it, other people won't.
It's such an important point because although there's you need to disassociate yourself from the sales
Yeah.
outcome
Yeah,
or the
that little bit.
conversation outcome, yeah,
Mm.
you don't disassociate yourself from the rest. Far from it. You're embedded. It's your own story. I mean, this is why keynote speakers do so well because
Yeah.
people are intrigued with those unique stories, the
Yeah.
way in which it worked out for them and what they can relate to and the personality that comes along with it. And there's no rule book that says that a business can't have a personality. In fact, big corporates pay hundreds of thousands to get a brand specialist in
Yeah.
to sort out brand voice, tone, and all of that sort of stuff. Whereas we're at a real advantage as real, as well. I say we, I and a lot of the clients that I work with are at a real advantage because they can pivot because they're so small. They may
Mm.
be anywhere between sort of 1 and 5 employees in that business. You can
Yeah.
pivot really quickly.
Yeah.
You can redefine yourself really quickly. You've not got to go through some big corporate red tape to try and change your brand identity, the way you position yourself in the market. So
No.
everything's geared up for solopreneurs and small business owners
Mm.
to succeed if they just do it the right way.
Yeah, if they don't get worried about what other people think and that if this way isn't working, they feel they have to make this big declaration to everybody that they've failed. When really nobody gives a monkeys, really. They're all busy doing their thing. So just pivot and start talking about now talk about this rather than that. And people will get to know you for the new thing, like you say, particularly if you're small. So an example, I had my business for 20 years. Flowers was always going to be next for me. Random. My mum and dad had a sweet shop. I romanticised the view of a florist shop. I looked into buying a florist shop when I exited my business and thought, I don't want the tie because I lived through someone being tied to like a premises. So I did my floristry training and then I built a business coaching business for florists. The floristry market is not ready for coaching.
But you wouldn't have known that if you hadn't tried it, right?
Let's just say that it's micro businesses. I'm talking, having built a £4 million business for 20 years. We're doing this. all the time. They're frustrated. I'm frustrated. It's not working. So then, in my madness and my midlife crisis, I decided to bolt onto that a flower bouquet website to rival Interflora and Marks and Spencer's. Little old me. Why not?
Okay.
Why not? The
Go for
underdog.
it.
Let's go for it. So I built this beautiful site, invested a load of money in it. 9 months later of weekly webinars, loads of lead magnets, showing up, videos, trying to train people, I had got to the point where I had to make the decision to stop. I had to say, this isn't working. This is a money pit. I'm sinking money into it. It's going to take longer than the money I've got to get it off the ground. So my childhood dream, my identity that was always going to be floristry. So now I'm no longer the MD of and owner of that business, and I'm no longer going to be in the floristry industry. This person that landed after that decision was like, now what? Now what can I do? But that's a bravery decision on a large scale. But those decisions need to be made regularly in your business. You know, am I churning out
Yeah.
content? I did this 3 weeks ago, another live example. 3 weeks ago, I'm churning out content, I'm using social media, and it's not doing the thing I need it to do.
Hmm.
So I had to sit and say, what would I say to somebody else? I'd say, stop doing that thing, step right back, look at all the options on the table. The past is the best indicator of the future. Where have the people come into the membership? Everybody that's in there is someone that I've met, either online or in person. So for me, for my business, the best thing I can do is to get out and talk to more people, because
Yeah.
random content isn't doing the job. I can come back to
Mm.
that, but if I want to build it, I've got to go where I know works first. And this is what I see in a lot of businesses. They're not brave enough to make the decision when either what was working stops or they haven't quite found out what it is that can work. So then they just walk away and say, I tried to build a business and I couldn't. And then they go
I,
back and work for somebody else.
It can be tricky though. In the early days, I found it really hard to know when to judge something is working or not, and at that
Yeah.
point then to pivot. Because
Yeah.
you hear lots of people saying, just keep going, just keep going, just
Mm.
keep going. And you're thinking, oh, but is it about to work? Is it
Yeah.
not working? And for me, I had to almost take myself away from being in my own business and stop making my own excuses for myself. And
Mm.
very similar to what you've said, I had to take myself back to senior management days and think about, well, if one of my team was doing this, or a
Yeah.
team leader was doing this, or somebody running one of the departments I'm responsible for was doing this, I'd have probably only given it a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, no results, and then said, okay, so how are you measuring it then? What's success being measured on?
Yeah.
Because we're not seeing anything on the bottom line. So
Yeah.
how are you measuring? What guarantees have you got that it is just around the corner? And when I almost took myself back to where I didn't want to go, my corporate head, it
Mm.
then became quite clinical. And for me, I always now go back to that place in my
Yeah.
mind to make clinical decisions, or when I'm trying a new initiative, or if I've pivoted, I will set up front what the critical success factors are,
Yeah.
how long I'm going to give it, what results I expect, what are stretch results, what are standard results, what are low performance results.
Yeah.
I go into it knowing what the rules of the game are, rather than just, oh, I'll just keep going.
Make the decision early on. Are you running a business or is it a hobby? If it's a hobby and it's a little bit of money, then you don't need to potentially do all of these things. You can do whatever you want to do. But if you're having a business, then the next thing is it a business for you all the time that you want to work? It's there. Or are you building it for sale? Because if you're building it for sale, then it's a bit like building a house for sale. You don't put the things you like in there, you put the things that you know is going to sell the house. Do you see what
The
I mean?
attractive, profitable things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Whereas if it's for you, you can have all your personality, all of your personal little things in there that if someone was coming along to buy a business, they'd be like, well, I can't buy that because if Sandra leaves, I haven't got a business because it's all
Mm.
around her. Whereas if it's a business for sale, then it's a completely different mindset. So again, my two sides of my business, my consultancy, it's all about Joe. Go to Joe. It's all about me, my experience. But my membership is being built for sale. It's a sales training platform that I'm building that a coach at a certain point can just plug into their business and give sales training for however long they want out of it. They can re-record the videos, they can get all the assets and the templates and everything. But I would have done all of that work. So it's two very different models.
It's a tough one because a lot of, as you say, a lot of people get very emotionally attached to outcomes of sale. A lot of
Yeah.
people put all of their personality into their business and make it their business when actually you've got to know up front really, well, what is it? Is it a
Mm,
business you're growing with you working in it for it? Or is it
mm.
an extension of you? And I don't think a lot of people make these distinctions up front at all, do they?
Because people don't teach it like that. You know, that's why there's lots of programs and module based things. And as we said before, there lots of the stages of the sales process are the same. Nobody's teaching anything different from this is attraction and process and structure and reporting, you know. But it comes down to me to that. Why do you choose to do it on your own when you don't need to do it on your own? Like anything, like if you want to get a six pack at the gym, you'd go and get a PT. You know, if you want to sort your diet out, you'd go and speak to a nutritionist. If your leg hurts, you go and see a doctor. Sales is the same. It's the one part of your business that if you don't have, you don't have a business. You just have an expensive hobby that keeps you busy during the week or the weekends and takes up all of your time and gives you lots of stress rather than pleasure. So tackle it first, get some sales under your belt, build your confidence, use that to fuel you to take more action, and then rinse and repeat. But, you know, don't stop playing the drums, change your model, do the Daniel Priestley model of building a waiting list just so that you know where your next clients are coming from.
Referring there to
Yeah,
oversubscribed, but was
yeah,
yeah, really good. I've really
yeah,
enjoyed that. I actually got the book, read it, and then got the audio book because I thought actually I'll also listen to it again while I'm
yeah.
driving around because it's
He
yeah,
explains
it's
it really well in the
yeah.
Diary of a CEO podcast, the first one he did with Stephen Bartlett, where he
I haven't
talks
seen that first one.
through building a waiting list. It's the best description of why any business should put that processes. But yeah, it's tough in the sea of sales coaches and salespeople to know who to trust and who's real and who's not, and all of the things. Exactly the same in all the other coaching and consultancy fields. So you just have to do your research and not be worried about getting on a call with someone and saying, "You're not my person,"
Yeah,
because
yeah, absolutely.
if they're not your person, then they're not your person. It's not personal. It's not a good fit.
And again, going back to your points near the start, you've got to get through the nose. You've in order
Yeah,
to get the yeses, yeah. And you've
yeah,
similar with business in general. You've got to make some mistakes in order to work out the correct route.
yeah,
People who don't take the risks and don't want the bad, well, the good's going to take a lot longer to get to, isn't it? With all things, and you know the beauty of what we do as coaches, mentors is we've got a lot of experience to draw from, which can help not avoid all the pain, but certainly say, I've driven this road before and I know there's potholes there, and there. And you probably
yeah,
don't want to drive over that speed bump at 30 miles an hour. You probably want to drop down to 10. Do what you
yeah,
want, but my advice would be that, and it might actually have a smoother ride. And that's the beauty of having somebody in your corner, right, who can do that.
yeah.
And with 40 years, with 4 decades sales experience, I mean, if that's not a good honor badge to wear that builds trust, I don't know what is. So your sales only, is that a paid membership or do
Yeah.
you have a free membership or free community as well?
I have a free Facebook group that is a sales only group, but the main membership is a paid option. They get sales school for free when they join. So 3 sessions a week, come to one, come to none. All the recordings are in the platform, all the templates and workbooks and things. So they can just go in and take what they need. And they get access to me around those sessions as well. So I look at sales pages, help answer emails, jump on calls, you know, talk them through next steps. I'm in their business with them all the time that they're in in with me.
And I'll make sure that on the show notes, I've got the links to contact you, links to your Facebook group if you want to share that, and obviously your main proposition as well. Just to summarize, I think it's so important, a show like this, when we get experts in. I know sometimes people will say, yeah, but I'm not at that stage yet. I'm only just starting off and, I've only had my first few sales. But saying that you're not at that stage is the absolute wrong thing to be thinking about, because as a business owner, you need to be thinking, where do I need to be at and what behaviors do I need to be exhibiting in the future, and what's the quickest route to get there? And the quickest route to get there will always be to have an expert that's guiding you on the right ways of doing things, the things to avoid. So, I really would advise anybody, if you are struggling with marketing, with sales, with tech, look for the right people to be in your corner, because they will get you there a lot quicker. And trust me, it will not be cheaper in the long run to just keep doing the same shit. And in fact, if anything, that's probably going to push you a lot more towards giving up on your business and going back and working for somebody else. And that's not a good place to be in if you've already taken the leap and set up a solopreneur. So do check out the details in the show notes and speak to Joe if you are struggling with sales. Joe, it's been fantastic to have you on the show. I've learned a couple of things. And I must admit that I loved the Salesologist bit, I thought, because linking anything back to psychology, the way the mind works and what you avoid, I love that. I think that's fantastic, bringing that into it. And it's been fun to see where there are some common thoughts as well, because I'm by no means a sales expert, far from it. However, it's reassuring to hear that bringing some of the metric-based, where are we going, what's the target, when do we stop, when do we pivot, is something that's aligned with the same sort of idea that you should be doing. So thank you. You've validated some of what I do as well, which is fantastic.
Happy to help.
Thank you. And for free.
Even better.
Look, listen, it's been great having you on, Joe. And thanks again. I think it's going to be really useful for the listeners to check you out, look at some of your resources. And guys, please do, if you're struggling with sales, please get help from somebody who's an expert. And you're not getting anybody more expert than a Salesologist with over 40 years experience. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Joe, again, thank you very much for coming on.
No, thank you.
And to everybody else, we shall see you next time. That's it for this episode of Coach Fireside Chat. If you found value in today's episode, please be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an insight-packed conversation. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more real talk on coaching. And don't stop there. Check out other fantastic episodes where I sit down with more incredible coaches who are out there making a real impact. Thanks for tuning in.